Good afternoon. We'll go ahead and call to order the regular meeting for the City of Murfreesboro Board of Zoning Appeals for September 23rd, 2015. First, I wanted to let everyone know that application Z15063 has been withdrawn, at least for now. It's an application involving or by the Murfreesboro Parks and Recreation Department for property located at 3574 Leanna Road concerning some temporary soccer fields. Again, that application has been withdrawn, at least for now. And I do understand that the city is going to, I believe, hold a neighborhood meeting concerning that property, though no date for that meeting has been set, and they'll, I guess, make a decision thereafter as to how to proceed on that item. So anyway, it's not going to be heard today. All right, we now need to consider some minutes from our regular meeting on August 26, 2015. Those minutes are included with our agenda materials. Any changes to those minutes? No. All right, if not, they'll stand approved as presented, and we'll start with some new business. First one is application Z15058 by Mr. Rodney Graves. He's requesting variance from the zoning ordinance for property in the General Office Residential District located at 419 East Burton Street. First application is a 15-foot variance from the ordinance requiring a minimum front yard setback of 30 feet for 3 family dwellings in the district. And second, a 5-foot variance from the ordinance requiring a minimum side yard setback of 10 feet for 3 family dwellings. All right, Mr. Anthony, if you'd review that application for us, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good afternoon, board members. The applicant is requesting 2 setback variances from the board for a quarter-acre property located at 419 East Burton Street. This property was previously the site of a triplex, which burned in April of this year. That triplex was set back approximately 15 feet from the front property line, 80 feet from the rear property line, and 15 feet from both side property lines. The aerial photos in your packet will give you a better idea of how the triplex was situated on the lot and how it related to neighboring properties. The applicant would like to rebuild the triplex with the same front setback as the previous triplex, 15 feet. The applicant would also like to shift the new structure approximately 10 feet to the east to allow for a 2-way ingress-egress on the driveway on the western side of the property. Doing this would give the new triplex a 5-foot side setback on the east side. This property lies within the OGR zoning district, which requires minimum setbacks of 30 feet on the front, 20 on the rear, and 10 on both sides. Therefore, the applicant does need 2 variances. The first would be a variance for the front setback. The applicant is requesting a 15-foot reduction in the 30-foot required front setback, which would leave a 15-foot front yard setback. The second is a variance for the side setback on the eastern side of the property. The applicant is requesting a 5-foot variance from the 10-foot required setback, which would leave a 5-foot side yard on the eastern side. As noted in the staff report, the applicant's variance request rests primarily on the fact that the previous triplex was destroyed by fire. The applicant is present and can address that issue further if needed. Staff can answer any questions that you may have, and I also want to note that Mr. Halliburton received correspondence from a neighboring resident, Amy Cottle, who indicated her opposition to the variance request, and a copy of Ms. Cottle's email should be in the materials in front of you.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Anthony. Questions from Mr. Anthony? Mr. Graves, if you're present, anything you wish to add to your application?
Well, my name is Shannon Hicks. I'm the contractor for Mr. Graves. If you are looking at a satellite picture, you will notice that there is a tree in the rear of the yard in the parking area that has been there for quite some time. We're trying to save that tree for the owner, for the front setback, also to line up for the other properties. And we do want to create a 2-way ingress-egress is the request for the side setback.
So as far as the setback from the front, it's going in the same spot as it was before?
Yes, sir.
That
Lining up with the other properties.
lined up with the other properties. And then why is it important to have a two-way ingress egress for you?
The number of parking spaces have increased from what was previously there in an effort not to create any congestion on the side.
Is the number of parking places an increase based upon the new guidelines for the city?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Because, and you need to correct me if I'm wrong, but we have the same number of units that we originally had. Is that a correct statement?
Correct.
Okay.
No change in the number of units,
Okay.
just the new guidelines.
So the parking, the required parking is what is, I guess, increasing, right?
Yes.
It's increasing because, as Ken said, the city requires it to increase, right?
That's correct. Yes, sir.
Does the city also require that two-way ingress egress?
No, sir.
Okay. All right. Any other questions for Mr. Hicks?
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. All right, this time we'll conduct a public hearing. Anyone present wishing to speak for or against this application, if you would, please come forward. If you would, state your name and your address for us, please.
Yes, I'm Marion Dunston, Dunston. I live at 417 East Burton, which is right next door. I had some concern. I guess I don't know as far as the 5 foot, if that would make it closer to my property, which, as you said, it was destroyed by fire, and I did have some damage to my siding, which Mr. Graves graciously replaced for me. But to have it closer to my property gives me some concerns, especially with it just being 5 feet.
So,
I believe
I don't
it's
know, Mr.
shifted to
Anthony?
the other side.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe you can pull up the overhead, show a picture of the satellite view of the property, and then tell us which direction it's going to get shifted. And
Sure. So I believe that what they're asking, the setback reduction is on this side, the side that's closer to Lee Street. That would allow for a wider driveway here.
So it's actually, if you looked at the plan.
Okay, yeah, the plan he had discussed with me, and he had said it would be shifted closer to my property. So that's why I had a concern when it didn't say which side the.
are you on the driveway side or the?
Yeah.
I'm on, no, that's my house, yes.
This one. So this is the side that, as I understand, they're actually shifting away from. From
Okay,
this
so the
side.
driveway, okay. Well, that was opposite of what I had an understanding of. Okay. I don't have a problem with that then.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Dodson. All right. Anyone else present wishing to speak for or against the application? All right. Seeing none, I'll declare the public hearing closed and open the floor for further discussion or motion. We've got two parts of this motion here.
If there's no further discussion, I'll make a motion that we approve the 15-foot front variance, subject to any staff comments.
I'll second.
All right. Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, next consider the requested 5-foot variance from the 10-foot setback.
If no further questions, I'll make a motion to approve the 5-foot variance.
I'll second it. I want to make the comment, though, just for the record, in response to the email that I received, that the fact of the matter is we're not increasing the number of units that were already there. So I'll second that motion.
All right. We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, Mr. Graves, Mr. Hicks, that application has been approved. All right, next we'll consider application Z15059 by Valerie Smith for Murfreesboro Water and Sewer Department. She's requesting variances from the ordinance for property located in a heavy industrial district located at 2234 Northwest Broad. First of all, a 3-foot variance from the ordinance requiring a front yard setback of 42 feet. Second, a 3-foot variance from the ordinance requiring a side yard setback of 10 feet. And third, a 5-foot variance from the ordinance requiring a rear yard setback of 20 feet. All right, Mr. Anthony, if you'd review that one for us, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is a City of Murfreesboro Water and Sewer Department project, so the city is the applicant in this case. With this particular project, the city wishes to replace 3 existing sewer pump stations on Northwest Broad Street with 1 new sewer pump station at the southeast corner of Northwest Broad and Battlefield Parkway. The lot, which is less than 4,400 square feet in area, will include a 150-foot fiberglass structure, 2 parking spaces, and a driveway connecting the pump station to Battlefield Parkway. As noted in the staff report, no direct access to Northwest Broad is shown on the site layout. The property is currently zoned HI, which requires a minimum front yard setback of 42 feet, rear yard setback of 20 feet, and side yard setback of 10 feet. In order to build the station as shown on the site layout, the city has 3 variance requests. First, a 3-foot variance from the 42-foot front yard setback along Northwest Broad, which would leave a 39-foot front yard. Second, a 3-foot variance from the 10-foot side yard setback on the southeastern side of the property, which would leave a 7-foot side yard setback. And third, a 5-foot variance from the 20-foot rear yard setback, which would leave a 15-foot rear yard. As you can see in the aerial photograph, the rear and southeastern side of the subject property are bounded by an open field owned by International Paper. With regard to the front setback, the proposed structure will sit well below the street grade, so there is a steep drop-off on the eastern side of Northwest Broad. In the request letter, the city's representative points out that topography and existing infrastructure are the main factors in determining appropriate locations for sewer pump stations. In this case, the needed location would necessitate the required setback variances. Staff can answer any questions that you may have, and representatives for the project are also present and can discuss this project as well. Thank you.
All right. Mr. Anthony, it may be helpful to show on the, again, on the overhead, the property we're looking at, and I know there's some photographs that are included with our agenda materials.
Yes, sir. So this is the property. It's actually this very small square here at the intersection of Battlefield Parkway, which sort of runs this way, and Northwest Broad, which is here. This is International Paper over here. So we're looking at this very small 4,400 square foot.
I think the
lot.
Harley dealership is on up the street.
I believe that it maybe is right up this way.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Here's a closer up view of the site. And if you've driven down Northwest Broad, you've probably seen some construction occurring. So that's the site that we're looking at. This is a site from Broad. This is a site from Battlefield Parkway, looking south.
Can anybody give us a reference of what this pump station will ultimately look like? Like, is there another one somewhere else that you can give us an idea of? Because I don't see a picture of the finished product, but we would know, say, there's one on Rutherford Boulevard or whatever the case may be.
Linda Sullivan. I'm with the civil engineer doing the design drawings for Valerie. And I don't have a picture. I do at the office, but I don't have it with me. But it's just a fiberglass box, basically. Okay. And they have several like it in the city. I don't know if you've ever noticed a sewer pump station that just looks like a green square. It's 10 feet by 14 feet, and it covers the pumps. I guess in defense of this project, the 3 stations that are currently in service are much closer and much more encroaching upon the right-of-ways and the businesses than this one.
How tall is it? Like 5 feet?
7
Okay.
feet. Yeah,
right.
The guys need the room to walk in there and work on the controls
you.
and work on the pumps. Yeah. what is the name of that business across the street that makes pallets for Precision Wood? If you've ever noticed that little rusty hut in front of it, it's like in the ditch right beside Murfreesboro Road. There's a ditch, and that's one pump station that's basically in the ditch right there beside the road that's being replaced. And then the other one is actually in the parking lot of the Kubota dealership, in the middle of all the things that they sell and park right there. Kind of hard for the guys to get to work on. And then the other one's right in front of International Paper, which we've all probably driven by 1,000 times.
Right.
But the pumps are actually below grade in that pump station. So it's a manhole, and the pumps are down under. So those are the three that it replaces. And I think the Water and Sewer Department is trying to install this one to their water and sewer standard with adequate driveway, adequate parking, adequate clearances for their staff to operate and maintain, which is what they don't have at the other three.
Is it being constructed in a current easement?
They had to buy the property. So the Water and Sewer Department bought the property to locate the pump station on. And if we moved it, it looks real wide open when you look at the picture. It looks like there's nothing there, but there really is. There's a large reclaimed water line right there. And then International Paper put in that sort of hidden parking lot, that emergency parking lot, the geogrid that has the grass growing. So you have their parking lot and that big reclaimed water line, and then you have Battlefield Parkway right there. And so we were really hemmed in with where we could be because of all the things around us. And then when you're putting in a pump station, the gravity sewers come to you. So it's very expensive to relay all the sewer around. So we just picked the spot where the sewers were coming to naturally. And the pump station's still a little bit deeper than we want it to be. It's 20 feet deep, solid rock, which is expensive. And so anyway, changing all those things cost the city a lot of money too. So we were trying to minimize the cost and just fit wherever there was an available spot under the ground, because there's all kinds of stuff under the ground there. So we really didn't have many choices. And putting one in the place of the three that were already terrible situations seemed like the thing to do.
All right, thank you, Ms.
Okay.
This time we'll conduct a public hearing. Anyone present wishing to speak for or against this application? Seeing none, we'll declare the public hearing closed and open the floor for further discussion or motion. And we have three parts of this application we need to consider.
I'll make a motion that we approve the 3-foot variance from Chart 2, which requires a minimum front yard setback of 42 feet.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, next consider the 3-foot variance of the side yard setback.
Make a motion to approve the 3-foot variance of the side yard setback.
Second.
All right, motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And finally, the 5-foot variance request for the rear yard setback.
Make a motion to approve the 5-foot variance.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, Ms. Smith, that application has been approved. All right, next we're going to consider application Z15060 by Mr. Richard Reeves of Reeves Properties. He's requesting a 12-foot variance from the zoning ordinance, which requires a minimum 20-foot rear yard setback in the commercial highway district, and this is for property located at 1509 Joe B. Jackson Parkway. All right, Mr. Anthony, if you'd review that one for us, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The applicant is requesting a 12-foot variance from the required minimum 20-foot rear yard setback in the CH district for property located at 1509 Joe B. Jackson Parkway. This property is just east of Interstate 24 near the intersection of Joe B. Jackson and Elam Road. The applicant wishes to construct a storage shed with dimensions of approximately 30 feet by 12 feet behind the existing Minuteman Convenience Center. The storage shed would be placed to the west of an existing dumpster enclosure. If the variance is approved, the storage shed would sit approximately 8 feet from the rear or northern property line. In addition to the picture included in your packet, I have a couple more that I went out and took, which actually show the site where the storage shed would be placed. The neighbor most affected by the setback variance would appear to be Schwan Cosmetics, which is a new industrial facility that adjoins the northern property line of the subject property. In the picture on the screen, it is the large structure that you can see looming in the background. The Schwan facility is more than 200 feet away from the property line, and the Schwan site plan shows a detention pond on the Schwan property between their building and the applicant's property. In the amended request letter, which is included in your packet, the applicant's representative addresses each of the 3 standards for obtaining a variance. Per the letter, a required detention pond at the front of the subject property has caused a hardship for the applicant by forcing the applicant's building further toward the rear of the lot. The applicant is concerned that placing the storage shed at least 20 feet off the rear property line would pose a problem for safe movement of vehicles. Staff can answer any questions that you may have, and the applicant and his representative are here today as well, and I believe that they're going to have a presentation for us.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Anthony. So is the property surrounded by heavy industrial?
So the property to the north is actually light industrial, and then all of the immediately adjacent property is highway commercial.
Highway commercial, okay. Gotcha. All right. All right, Mr. Reeves, anything you'd like to add, or Mr. Goodman?
Mr. Anthony, do we have the presentation?
Yes, sir.
I'm Ted Goodman of Murphy & Murphy Attorneys. We represent the applicant in this matter, Reeves Properties, and the request for the setback variance. Next slide, please. This is, as Mr. Anthony said, this is the Minutemen Convenience Center on Joe B. Jackson Parkway. That is the convenience store with the fountain out in front, directly across the street from the Amazon facility. Next slide. This is as Mr. Anthony said, it's a request for a variance from the 20-foot setback requirement from the rear property line in order to place a small 12-foot by 30-foot mini barn storage building behind the convenience store, to place it 8 feet from the rear property line. The purpose is to store lawn care equipment, supplies, landscaping and cleaning chemicals, bulk paper products, as well as some store inventory. This is the sort of a close-up of the site plan that is in your packets. I apologize. And as you can see, this is Joe B. Jackson Parkway. This is the detention pond that that is the reason for the request. This is the convenience store. And back here is where the proposed mini barn would go. And then behind there is the Schwan Cosmetics building. Next slide. This is another picture looking at the building, looking at the Minutemen property from Joe B. Jackson Parkway. And in the front, within that fenced enclosure around the white fences, within that is where the detention pond is located. And you can see a little bit the fountain shooting up there. Next slide. The adjacent property is the Schwan Cosmetics building. It is zoned light industrial. It's buffered by the tree line as well as a required landscape buffer. The proposed mini barn will be placed entirely on the paved parking lot, would not infringe on the required landscape buffer. The adjacent property has a small number of warehouse-type windows. Next slide. This is the adjacent property. This is standing inside, kind of in the fence line, looking at the adjacent property, and there you can see what we're calling sort of the warehouse-type windows. Next slide. The basis of the request is the characteristics of the property impose difficulties on the property. Due to the large stormwater detention area on the front of the property, and that area services several properties in the area, the convenience store is set far back on the property. Thus, it effectively creates an unusually narrow and shallow property with a small backyard. Next slide. So therefore, if we were required to place the mini barn 20 feet away from the rear property line, that would push the mini barn too close to the convenience store, thus impeding the flow of traffic and also emergency equipment circulating around the principal structure. So therefore, it would be extraordinarily difficult to comply with the applicable zoning regulations. Next slide. This is not self-created. Rather, this is a result of the stormwater detention area that is required by city and federal regulations. Next slide. And so we would request that you approve the 8-foot, the variance allowing us to place the mini barn within 8 feet of the rear property line due to the unusual characteristics of the property. I have pictures, 2 pictures of the mini barn, if I may. And Mr. Reeves is here as well if the board has any questions for either of us.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Goodman. Any questions for either Mr. Goodman or Mr. Reeves?
Not a question for them, but I'm assuming if we're eliminating 5 spaces that they still have the required number of spaces that are required for parking.
Yes,
okay.
sir. They're very sufficiently parked on this site.
Was there a previous variance request for the concrete pad? Since it appears to be in the same setback.
For the dumpster?
Yes, for the.
No, that was approved as part of the, that would have been approved as part of the site plan.
But are they required to be outside of the setbacks as well?
No.
Typically?
No.
Okay. I couldn't remember. I was remembering something we had approved in the Gateway District.
The structure that they've brought, if it were a little bit smaller, it wouldn't necessarily have to go through this process either, but because of the size of it, it does.
Okay, thank you.
What about the size of this that requires this process?
Give me just a moment.
Okay. So you're saying that not all temporary structures that sit outside the setbacks have to go through BZA. It's just some of certain size.
Correct. So Section 25E5 of the zoning ordinance or requires accessory structures greater than 200 square feet in area to adhere to standard building setbacks in commercial zones.
And I'm sorry, remind me what this one was? 12 by 30. 360?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
12 by 30.
Okay. All right. Either Mr. Reeves or Mr. Gooden, did you all consider something that would fit within the 200 square feet, or you just have to have this size of a barn, I suppose?
Felt like we needed this size for.
Can you come up? I'm sorry. Can you come up to the? You probably know how this works.
I haven't been here lately, though. No, we sort of planned ahead, thought that we might go ahead and get a larger unit because of future growth and expansion and so forth in that area. We just thought we'd go ahead and get the 12 by 30. It has to be pre-built.
It's a convenience store, right?
Yeah, it's actually a 5,500 square foot building, and 3,400 of it is the convenience store. There's 2,200 that's available to lease out, and it's open 24/7.
I see. It's unusual, I think, maybe to see a storage shed or in or around a convenience store. I don't.
There's several convenience stores that have storage sheds, but we needed a place to keep lawnmowers and weed eaters and fertilizer, grass seed, so forth.
All right.
You want to keep up with that landscape ordinance.
I've got quite a bit of spare time. But my main thing is I get to sample the food that they're preparing in the deli in there.
So are you anticipating renting out part of your convenience store?
Yes, ma'am. There's 2,200 square foot that's available to lease out, and we're in the process of interviewing different prospective people that want to lease that space.
Thank you.
And the barn is and will continue to be the type that you can just pick up and move.
Yeah, it'll be brought in on a truck, and we can pick it up, move it anytime. Somebody was to buy the convenience center and didn't want the storage barn, and we would be able to move it.
Okay. All right. Any other questions?
All right, is this 14-foot delineation next to the barn, is it like a grass space that's going to be created to, it looks like there's two spaces that'll be removed and create a space.
I don't know, say that again.
I may be reading this
I think you're right.
wrong.
Like a new curb being.
It looks like there's a curb that's being built next to the storage barn that maybe with the additional landscaping there.
No, this won't affect the landscaping or the curb. Actually, the storage barn will sit off of the rear line a couple of feet away from the curb so that there's some area between the building and the curb itself. We can walk around the entire barn without getting on the landscape.
Richard, you may want to look at this site plan so
Okay.
you can tell what she's asking about, because it does look like there's new curbing that's being put in. Yeah.
Adjacent to it. It's
That's accounted for in the 5 spaces.
right, that space.
No, it's back. There's a lot more spaces in there than that, parking spaces. There's probably 10 parking spaces in there. We're only using 4 of them.
Okay.
I don't know. I don't know why that's shown there, because this whole area here is parking.
So there won't be any, this which looks, that won't be created. That would just remain
says
parking
new curb.
spaces.
Just removing 5 and using up 3.5 or so with the barn.
That's all parking. That is not there. I mean, this is all parking here, just like, it's same as this right here, 9 spaces.
And there would just be the building that's like this, and this is not going to happen.
Is it possible that the engineer put that there to prevent vehicles from opening doors into the side of the storage barn?
This building is 12 foot wide, 30 foot long, so it's going to take 4 parking spots.
Okay.
Actually, on this one, it's showing 3. There's actually 9, just like there was over here.
Okay.
9 spaces. We could have put the building here and not even, had to apply to the BZA, but I wanted it convenient to my dumpster so that we can, we got a cardboard recycling dumpster there, and we wanted to be able just to have it handy here a little bit.
And this is also less visible.
Yeah. It's in behind the building.
Donald, will this have to go before planning committee? Because somebody needs to change the site plan, because there's no question that it denotes a new curb and an island there.
I would not think that this would need to go before the planning commission.
Okay. And I don't disagree, but
Yeah.
this site plan dictates
Yeah,
something more than what they're.
I'm assuming that curb is just being placed there as a convenience or safety measure.
But there's the applicant saying that that's not going to be there.
It's not there.
Understood.
Right there. That's what I'm
Understood.
trying to convey.
If we need to end that, we can do it.
We can make that, I think that we can make that a condition today if you would like. We can make a condition that curb that's shown on site plan will not be placed.
All right.
If that would make everybody more comfortable with it.
Yeah. Thank you for the clarification.
All right, thank you for calling it out. I didn't know.
You got some time on your hands, you can go build a curb, right? All right. Anyone present wishing to speak for or against this application, if you would please come forward. And seeing none, we'll declare the public hearing closed and open the floor for further discussion or motion.
I'll make a motion that we approve the variance with the understanding that it doesn't look like there'll be a new curb or island placed as the site plan shows.
No second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, gentlemen, that application has been approved. All right, we'll next consider application Z15061 by John Claxton of Perry Engineering, representing Kroger. He's requesting a 19-foot variance from the zoning ordinance, which allows a maximum lighting fixture height of 20 feet for non-residential structures 35 feet or less in height. And this is for a property located in a highway commercial district at 1114 Mercury Boulevard. All right, Mr. Anthony, if you'd review that application for us, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The applicant is requesting a 19-foot variance to the 20-foot maximum lighting fixture height for property located at 1114 Mercury Boulevard. If granted, this variance would allow the applicant's lighting fixtures to reach 39 feet in height. The applicant plans to rebuild the center of the Mercury Heights Shopping Center, which is located near the southwest corner of Mercury Boulevard and Middle Tennessee Boulevard. A new 94,000 square foot Kroger supermarket and separate fuel center will be located in the shopping center. The building elevations submitted by the applicant show a building height for the supermarket of 33 feet and 8 inches. If the building reached only 35 feet in height, if the building reached 35 feet in height, the applicant would be allowed to install fixtures 30 feet high, which would necessitate a much smaller variance request. However, because the proposed building is under 35 feet in height, the 19-foot variance is necessary if the applicant is to construct the desired 39-foot fixtures. In the applicant's request letter, the applicant lists customer and vehicular safety as the primary reasons for seeking a variance. As noted in the staff report, the photometric plot shows illumination levels at or below 0.5 foot candles along all property lines. These levels do comply with the lighting standards listed in Section 18 of the zoning ordinance. Also, please note that if this variance is approved, it will cover both the proposed supermarket and the proposed fuel station. Staff can answer any questions that you may have.
All right, thank you, Mr. Anthony.
Thank you.
Questions for Mr. Anthony?
Mr. Chairman, Kroger is a large customer of mine, so I'll sit out this application just
All right.
to be safe.
We'll note that on the minutes.
Is this Kroger replacing the one that's on Middle Tennessee Boulevard now?
I would defer to the applicant to answer that.
Good afternoon. John Claxton with Perry Engineering. Yes, it would be replacing that existing Kroger down the road.
Thank you.
Yes.
We've got the pictures in our materials here. If you want to put those up on the monitor, and maybe Mr. Claxton can identify the portions of the shopping center that are going to be demolished. I think.
Right. So basically, what we're doing is we're constructing a new 94,000 square foot Kroger supermarket with fuel center. It'll be located at the center of that entire property. The two ends on east and west of that building will remain as is.
Tell us what the tenant. Do you know what tenants are in there now?
I cannot recall the name of the tenants on either ends. There's some vacant.
It is.
Isn't it Goodies? and
Goodies, I believe, is the
KC1?
west end, correct. And there's a number of tenants on the east building.
it is.
Dry cleaner and ice cream shop, something like that.
All right.
And the proposed building is separated from the existing buildings. They're not sharing a wall or anything like that. It's something else to note is we are improving the entire front parking lot, not just the portion in front of Kroger and by the fuel center. So this proposed lighting will extend. If you look at the photometric plan, you might be able to see where our new light poles are. And just for your reference, when you're looking at that, those are actually showing a 30-foot pole, not a 39-foot pole. Those are showing a 30-foot pole, which are what we used on the Kroger we're building currently on Veterans Parkway and Highway 96, west of town. And that building was a different prototype. It was an older prototype with a higher building height. And we feel this new prototype that Kroger's rolling out, Murfreesboro will be one of the first 2 cities in Middle Tennessee to get this prototype, one of the first actually in the southeast. And it's a little shorter. It's more of a modern look. So they don't feel the need to, they don't know if it's necessarily worth it to raise their building 1 foot 4 inches to get some extra light pole height. They'd feel like that's kind of excessive in their minds. So with that in mind, we are showing a 30-foot light pole height. We are requesting a 39-foot light pole height, which is Kroger's prototypical light pole height. They like to do that to reduce the number of poles on the lot. It reduces hot spots, dead spots on the lot. And because Murfreesboro doesn't allow light poles in landscape islands, it will decrease the number of light poles in the parking area, which less light poles in the parking area just can help with, just people hitting the poles or whatever. So that's what we're bringing to you, hoping to get a 39-foot pole height on this property and the adjoining properties in the front parking lot.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Claxton. Any questions? So you're saying if this building was 1 foot 4 inches higher, then they could have a 39-foot pole height?
They could have a 30-foot pole. As it is right now, they can only have a 20. So the variance request that they're making is much larger than it would be if their building was a foot higher.
What would they? Well, I'm not saying how high would they have to build a building to get a 39-foot? As a matter of right?
There's no point. There is no right to that.
I got you. Okay. All right. All right. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
This time we're going to conduct a public hearing. Anyone present wishing to speak for or against the application, if you would, please come forward. All right. Seeing none, we'll declare the public hearing closed and open the floor for further discussion or motion.
No further questions. I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Not all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, Mr. Claxton, that application has been approved. All right, as we noted before, application Z15063 by the Murfreesboro Parks and Rec Department concerning some temporary soccer fields on Leanna Road has been withdrawn. And so we'll move on now to consider our final application, Z15062 by Mr. Darrell Kington of Key Oil Company. He's requesting a special use permit in order to allow a petroleum, liquefied petroleum gas, and coal products except refining facility in the heavy industrial district. And this is for property located near the intersection of Joe B. Jackson Parkway and Mayoral Court. All right, Mr. Anthony.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Key Oil, not King Oil, as is printed on your staff report, has requested a special use permit to allow a storage and distribution facility on Joe B. Jackson Parkway east of Mayoral Court. Because of the types of materials being stored and distributed at the facility, namely automobile and mechanical fluids, staff determined that the most appropriate use category is petroleum, liquefied petroleum gas, and coal products except refining, which requires a special use permit in the HI district. The applicant plans to construct a 36,000 square foot facility on what is currently a 21.6 acre lot. The applicant will replat the lot to subdivide it into 3 separate lots, and the applicant's business will occupy one of those lots, approximately 11.29 acres. The site will be accessed directly from Joe B. Jackson Parkway. Your packet includes a complete site plan showing the new lot configuration and the new cul-de-sac connecting the proposed facility to Joe B. Jackson. In the materials submitted to the planning department, the applicant indicates that no manufacturing will occur on site. Materials will be delivered to the facility, stored, repackaged, and then delivered on to customers. Business hours will be 6 a.m. to 5 p.m. on weekdays. As noted in the staff report, the applicant plans to gate the parking lot as a safety and security measure. The applicant will also construct and operate a gas station on the lot. While the gas station will be open to the public, no convenience store or on-site personnel are planned for this gas station. And since the gas station is allowed by right in the HI district, it is not part of this special use permit request. The applicant has similar storage and distribution facilities in other states and has a 3-minute video that shows one of these facilities in more detail. And with the board's permission, I would like to run that at this time. Does that work?
Yes, sir.
All right. We're going to give it a try.
We are standing in the middle of our 5-year-old 36,000 square foot distribution facility. We distribute to 19 facilities within our area. We are a multi-brand distributor, one of which is Phillips 66. Phillips 66 is the easiest company that we've ever had to deal with. They're people that care about what they do. As you look around our facility, you'll see that all of our tanks are inside. It's a diked facility. We actually built this facility at this location because we needed to add rail car, simply because of the efficiencies of getting rail car access. When we built it, we tried to think of all the facets of the industry that really made a difference to Key Oil Company. Everything that we do, loading trucks, unloading trucks, all of our packaging processes are done within the confines of this facility. If you're not extracting everything that you can out of this business with everybody that you have, you're going to fall behind very quickly. We run this entire facility with 2 full-time employees. You are always within about 10, 12 feet of an automatic shutoff that completely shuts down our system. One of the biggest efficiencies of this facility is our repackaging. We installed a pigging system. It's a system that allows air to push a rubber device named a pig, and what it does is it actually squeegees the inside of a line. It eliminates waste and it helps with product integrity as far as product changeover. Our manifold systems are all color-coded. Our hoses are all color-coded. It's just one of those little added extras that we built into the system so that we can eliminate that commingled product. Everything that we do today, everything that we touch, every way that we touch it, we have to do it the right way, and we have to do it the right way the first time. If you're still in this business today, you have to be looking for efficiencies. Every single day that we go home, we know that we've done things the right way, and that's to differentiate us from the other guys.
Chairman, staff can take any questions that the board may have, and the star of that video is actually present today. So feel free to direct any questions to him or his team as well. Thank you.
The star was who?
Mr. Kington. Mr. Kington.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
I got you. All right. All right. Any questions for Mr. Anthony? All right. Mr. Kington, anything you'd like to add to your application, sir?
Well, I would like to, with me today, I have our building architect. I have our mechanical engineer that will be helping us with this project, and our landscaping architect. We have blown up pictures of what we intend to do here. The biggest thing that I want to stress to everybody is that it is not a refinery. Everything that we bring into this facility, it is a finished lubricant, much like what you can buy. It is exactly what you can go to any of your mass merchandisers, your local farm co-op. We just kind of do it on a bigger scale. The industries that we deliver to are Nissan Manufacturing, GM Spring Hill, your local Nissan dealership, your local Toyota dealership, your Honda dealership. When you go to these places, to have your oil change, those products are supplied by my company at this time, and we will continue to supply them. This facility is actually a relocation process that we have. The current facility taking care of this area is in Germantown, in Nashville, and there are some interest in that property. We are looking to relocate. Logistically, this is a very good property for us. Any questions you might have about how we are going to run this, I think I have the people here that can answer any of those questions.
All right. Thank you, Mr. King. Any questions for Mr. Kingston?
How many employees do you anticipate?
We have 23 employees currently employed at our Nashville facility. All those employees will be relocated to this facility. I will say this, the facility that I'm building it for the future. It is considerably larger than the one that we have in Nashville. It is exactly the facility that you just saw on the videos that you just watched. That is our corporate office in Franklin, Kentucky. We have 18, 19 facilities that we distribute in a 5-state region. It's Kentucky and part of 4 other states, Tennessee being one of those states. So we look, this is the 23 employees that we have are the basis of what we will transfer, and we feel like that the future that number will grow.
Thank you.
The properties that surround this property, are they all heavy industrial?
With the exception.
Some light industrial.
I think across the road there's some light industrial.
The properties on Mayoral Court are highway commercial.
Is that Mayoral Court built out yet, or there?
I don't know if there's anything on it.
There's a subway.
Right.
Up on the corner. Everything else is vacant in that area.
And then coming on down Joe B. Jackson Parkway, you've got Amazon's down the road a little bit, correct?
NHK, it's a manufacturing facility. Actually, one of our customers. Rather convenient for them.
Okay. And where's we just heard Mr. Reeves' convenience store, isn't it somewhere
It is.
across the street or something?
It is. It is. If we can
actually
get up on
across
the
the
board,
street
it's
from the
actually
subway.
sort of right across the street from the subway. It's this
Okay.
property here.
Okay. All right. Well, any other questions from Mr. Kington? All right. Thank you.
Oh.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
How many employees are in your corporate office, to piggyback on Ms. Mosby's question?
Our company employs, give or take, around 250. Sometimes the biggest variance will be the number of truck drivers that are employed at any given time. So we're in the 250 range at any given time.
I guess the point of my question was to see how many people you thought might potentially be employed in that office.
If you will
as
look at
grow.
how we've plotted out this property, the current founder and owner of this company, Lester Key, he's still very active in the business, but he's 78 years old. His son is 47. He has 4 children. Our thoughts, the way that we are developing this property, is that one day there's a potential that we might want to move our corporate offices into this community. So the way we've designed this property, I'm basically putting an office structure on the front of it. It's about 2,500 square feet that will house the existing people that we employ. But we're allowing ourselves an opportunity to add a larger corporate office down the road if deemed necessary.
But not necessarily as it's built currently.
No.
It would be reconfigured
Absolutely.
as needed.
Absolutely.
But
But
you
if
have
you
the
look on
space
there,
to do
it
so.
shows that there is a spot for future expansion for offices.
Sorry. Thank you for answering my curiosity.
Anything else?
All right. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
At this time, we'll conduct a public hearing. Anyone present wishing to speak for or against the application, if you would, please come forward. All right. Seeing none, declare the public hearing closed and open the floor for further discussion or motion.
If no further questions, I'll make a motion to approve the special use permit.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, Mr. Kington, that application has been approved. All right, staff reports and other business.
We only have the one other item, and that is to approve the 2016 submittal and meeting calendar. And we passed that out last month. Hope you had a chance to look at it. And I think we would take a vote on it to adopt it if everyone is okay with the dates that are shown there.
All right. We have a motion on that?
Make a motion to approve the 2016 calendar.
Second.
All right, have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, calendar's been approved. Anything else?
I think that's it.
All right. No other business, and we're adjourned.